Hello and welcome to the Modern Human Podcast with your host, Wendy.
And Brenda. Hi, everyone.
Hey, so excited. This week we have an amazing topic that we're going to be discussing. And like always, if there is a topic that you would like to discuss, we would love to hear it and we'll put it in the rotation. So definitely make sure you comment below or reach out to us. But Brenda, what is the topic today?
Topic today, I wanted to explore what does it mean to be in alignment, or hold on, what was the other term that we were using? Oh, to be your authentic self. So we've been talking a lot about what it means to be authentic and that there's nothing more powerful, and what it means to be anchored into alignment with your higher self. And those are really big words and really big language around this multidimensional quantum experience that we're able to experience in the now. But I think that it just deserves a bigger conversation because it's got all these moving parts and we can have all these elements that can get in the way or maybe block us. It's not really blocking us, just allowing us to integrate with that human part of it. So yeah, that's our topic today.
Yeah.
And Wendy doesn't know about our topic. So the way that we're working this is that I'm going to come up with a topic one week. She's going to come up with a topic another week, unless you guys tell us differently and we put something else in there. But we kind of wanted that authentic experience where Wendy gets to go, well, how do you feel about that kind of thing? Because I know you've been talking a lot about this for months, about the importance of being in that, of being true to yourself, like in alignment with your words and your actions and all the beautiful things of you.
For sure. And I do want to just kind of preface before we get into the conversation, all the conversations that we have on this podcast are our entire being. So we are, Brenda and I are very centered, but we hear our higher selves, we hear our guides and angels, and we hear cross-dimensional planes. And so we cannot compartmentalize that in this podcast, meaning sometimes they're going to be channeling, sometimes it is checking in. It's an experience. This is not just an intellectual discussion. And though the podcasts or blogs have primarily been this kind of intellectual pursuit of knowledge, the Modern Human Podcast is really about us being all of our parts all the time.
Right.
And this moment of now is no exception. So I just want to kind of, this is not like, research backed. Brenda and I both have master's degrees, right? So this idea around, we understand how this world works in regards to wanting or needing evidence-based information. And though a lot of how we work, we understand the need for that. But this isn't necessarily like Harvard study, da-da-da.
For sure.
This is that and more. It's connecting to an intelligence that's beyond the the psychological testing,
even. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So we're kind of bringing you in like up-to-date information of just what our guides are saying, and and all of our experiences that we've had up to now. So
well, and since you're saying that, I mean, I feel like a really important element too is that we could never be the expert of you, and the importance of this podcast for us is that we empower you to think outside of what you think you might know, so that we can all just grow and expand, because we're each and every one of us going to bring a unique piece. So it's really just this like, hey, we invite you to try and what we're bringing through and what we're saying. If it doesn't resonate with you, totally respect that. You're allowed. Please be you. We need you,
Right. And all we can ever do is show up and be ourselves.
Right.
And that's going to be in alignment for us where we are right now. So
yeah, exactly.
we can only just share with you who we are, right?
Right. And that being in alignment of who we are, it means, being authentic, and being authentic, maybe saying that a different way, is being authentically messy, and what does that look like and feel like? Because I feel like even your opening comment of like, we're not evidence-based, like we're not going and reading the current research.
I feel like it is evidence-based. It's our evidence, our experience, right?
For sure, yeah. But it's also, to me, a little bit slower moving than some of us humans can be. So just honoring the journey of, the research might be a little bit behind us. And so, like, what does that mean to be authentically messy? And that the quickest way to this enlightenment, or to this integrating with who we really are in really powerful ways, is about like being this messy human, of like showing up for what you think, like what are those belief systems, and really maybe more importantly is, because some of those conscious ones are easier, I would argue. But what are those subconscious ones? Like, what are those patterns that we're experiencing in our reality? And how does that translate into a belief system about what I think about success, or what I think about a man, or what I think about a woman, or a child, right? Like all of those, I'm gonna call them belief systems, but they can be biased, right? They can be biased by the culture that we've grown up in.
Yeah, and I feel like what you're talking about without talking about it is you have an authentic aspect of your nature, of like who you truly are, this authentic part. And then, so you're born of light, and that light has its own beautiful personality, and then you're conditioned. And so you're kind of talking about how do we get back to that authentic version of ourselves, and you're saying, hey, we have to then question what we really think about men or what we really think about women, and it's not necessarily what we were taught or what we were exposed to, right?
Right.
Because if you were in let's say, an abusive environment where all the men were abusive, you might really then have this broad stroke of like men are not safe.
Right.
And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
It's just what your experience, right?
Right.
And you're saying, let's open that up to saying, hey, does that mean all men are bad? Or
right. And then bringing in the other elements of our being, which is like, how are we feeling about things? And
Right.
then what is authentic to our kind of heart mind, or, really like what feels good for us, and how can we cultivate being in that more? And part of that is acknowledging that we have belief systems, or we have feelings within our being that need to be reconciled. And maybe that's just what I'm talking about, is that, we're not able to bypass or ignore the elements of our being that are not authentic, especially now, and I know everything we've been talking about all day today, really, of being in alignment with self is acknowledging where we are really at right now in this now.
yeah, and I would argue what you're hitting on is, you have this true authentic nature, right? And then your emotional being is the bridge to get you back to it, because your emotions can't lie. So
Right.
you've obviously dedicated your entire life to educating people on the importance of their emotional being, right? You have different parts of your being. The emotional body, though, is like the bridge back to your authenticity, right?
Right.
So you're saying show up now. And if you show up now in the current moment of now, pulling your awareness into the present moment, you're saying, where are you? What needs to be processed to get to know those parts?
Right. And like feeling into, like, for example, the parts of you that feel unloved. And I know I was talking about that a moment ago in our Council of Light. But like if I'm feeling unloved, like that expression or that experience is authentic to me. Somewhere inside of me, across all times or all spaces, is having that experience. And I listen to a lot of other people talk about this, and I think it's really important, and I do think that they're doing good works, and I could see it working for some people, and it doesn't work for me necessarily. Meaning,
What doesn't work for you?
if I just say, well, I'm not going to feel unloved, that doesn't reconcile the part of me that feels
Like
unloved.
avoid it, kind of.
Right. So for me, the transmuting, it looks a little bit different. It looks like, well, I'm going to acknowledge the part of me that feels unloved. I'm going to break bread with it. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to hear what it has to say. And then by being vulnerable and authentic, even inside of myself, I'm then able to transmute it to say, well, I felt rejected. I felt abandoned. I felt gross, right? I was talking about that in the Council of Light with my 18-year-old self, and I was thinking of a moment that I just really felt bad about myself, and it was a memory I actually forgot was there. And what a beautiful gift of acknowledging, because my knee-jerk was to see myself through that lens that I saw myself then, of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and how gross I felt inside of myself, which isn't actually a feeling word, but it was there, but felt unloved. I felt rejected, I felt alone, and like all of those nuanced parts for me was about leaning into that and saying, okay, Brenda, that makes sense, like, let's understand. Sometimes it is about understanding why, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just about crying it out and saying, I had this experience, I felt unloved, I felt gross here, and that's enough. And so I lean in, I feel the feels, and then make this like powerful choice within myself of like, what, I totally get that, and that's really scary and sad, and Brenda, I love you so much. I love you, and nothing about you has ever been gross and will ever be gross. And my being just goes, oh, okay, right? Because I'm feeling the feels, I'm moving through that to then come back into alignment, almost like a part of me was like lost over here in this desert of like loneliness or despair or darkness. And I'm saying, hey, come to the light inside of me because I love you and I'm making this conscious choice. And then more of me becomes whole, right? I feel like that's what we're talking about is this alignment. And it is so unique and so different. And I know everyone's doing really good works out there, and I know my approach is a little bit, it's different. I'm saying, hey, actually, let's just invite it all in and let's have a good conversation, or let's love ourselves through it, or let's feel it.
Let's dive deeper into it.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like that's the divine feminine, and that's what we're kind of, bringing back.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've brought up a good point, which is, when something becomes so overwhelming, like your feeling of gross at 18, which is shame or all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And all the feelings that when you can no longer avoid it, it becomes really big, right? Maybe sometimes our anger or rage or our sadness or our happiness, whatever. It's like whenever there's a part of you that becomes so big, I feel like it's evidence that the universe really is always showing us what we need to come back into alignment.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really getting big because you can't avoid it anymore. You've been maybe trying to avoid it for freaking weeks or months, or maybe it's just now time for it to come into being so you can bring it back into alignment, so you can almost educate that part of yourself.
Yeah,
you can nurture that part of yourself so then it can come back,
Right. And if I can pull in one of the conversations around thoughts, right? like And there's a lot of works out there about transitioning all of your thoughts into alignment of your authentic self, which is kind of I maybe would say like an easier conversation, because if you can own that we are of love and light, then we're only going to be kind. So then we can kind of shift all those belief systems around. I am loved and supported, and then okay, hold on, and that's like a really easy concept, except when you don't experience it everywhere in your life. I'm not loved and supported. And I know you and I were just having this conversation prior to starting this around if I haven't experienced love and support, how do my belief systems know that I'm loved and supported, even though I'm gonna choose them? Like I'm gonna choose that love and support. So to me, like the integration with the belief system, you can believe that, you can then feel into what that feels like to be loved and supported, integrate that with your being. But I feel that you're going to meet up with the parts of you that are saying no to that have never experienced that aren't convinced of that, and that's okay. But spending more time there to say, okay, well, let's just lean in,
Right, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people haven't really addressed. It's like the amount of trauma the human being, like, if you came from an abusive environment or poverty or all of the things or all these terrible like traumatic experiences,
not having emotionally mature, aware parents,
all of the stuff.
That's okay.
That's a lot of people.
Is what it is,
yeah. They've just kind of like, well, I guess you're just kind of broken. And in some ways what you're saying is like, no, you're not broken. You literally can come back into alignment. Like everything is repairable and everything is possible to heal.
Right.
And I feel like in that way it's extremely hopeful. It's like helpful and hopeful, in the way that, no matter where you find yourself, you have the tools and the capacity to come back home, to come back to yourself.
Yeah, and
come back to love, basically. And then in that space, you can then create a reality where all your needs are met. It's not necessarily easy, but it's like the people that have experienced a lot of a trauma or emotional neglect and all of the things. These are the people that are the strongest alchemists. These are the amazing, powerful healers.
And even, with your physical body, like if you have tension or stress or pain, like those are going to be belief systems, and they're going to be a feeling space. They're going to incorporate all of your essence. Right. And so being in alignment is honoring that, like, hey, right now my shoulder hurts me, and I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to spend as much time as I need to until that physical experience transitions. As many times as it takes, and the humanness of that. I don't know. I'm being guided to go somewhere else, which I don't know where.
Well, I feel like partly what you're talking about is your whole being wellness program, which is, or like concept, which is just you have all these aspects of self, which to me, I would argue are dimensional aspects of being. You have your mental, so you have your thoughts, you have your feelings, you have your physical body, you have your spirit, you have your sexuality, creativity. And this is kind of like they're all interconnected and just kind of addressing, they're all parts of you that are meant to be in alignment with your heart, which is your highest self, right? Or your highest experience or expression.
And I think what I'm being guided to bring through is within the laws of this reality is help, is love, is the answers that you seek. So if you can stay open to all of this, not constrict, not try to resist the pain, if you can lean into the pain, which is why we speak about this. And that's not always easy stuff. It's hard to do sometimes, but it's like, just stay open. And some of that being open means I really have to feel that shame, or I really have to feel that guilt or that anger or that whatever. And if you can just allow yourself to be in that. And I know, that's where I get really passionate, because I don't think that we create enough space for that messiness, for that, oh my gosh, I have all these big feelings. And so we're overdue. So I do feel like some of our feelings are like these volcanoes of like avalanches of lava just spewing out of us because we're so overdue. Yeah. And I don't think it'll always be like that. It really is this, like, if you have a conversation or if you've cultivated a container for yourself to feel, it actually is pretty powerful stuff. It's pretty insightful because it'll tell you where to go and what to do.
It is the one thing that is needed, the one thing that we need to do to heal. Yeah. Not only as individuals, but as a culture. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to bring up in this space, because to become aligned, right? And that's the whole premise of this discussion, is self-alignment, and how in that space of alignment you can create harmony and healing and manifest anything and all the things. But to get there is a messy road, and you have to address things like shame and anger and this imperfect self. And in a world where you have social media and you have where everyone's trying to present in this perfect way, even physically, right? We can't have anything out of alignment, or like we can't show weakness in any way, because in fact that has been, in the old paradigm, those are the things that were used against us, right? Those are the things that were used to attack or judge, criticize,
compare.
And so now we're coming up to the space where we're going to have to actually move into those spaces where we go against that perfectionism.
Yeah.
And we have to address it. We have to address, it's almost like you can always tell how somebody treats themselves based on how they treat others. Meaning, like, of course, that's like a, elementary thing, but it's like, no, how does somebody treat somebody else's when they're messy? How do you treat somebody that's showing up in a crazy, imbalanced, freaking out space?
Or how comfortable is the other person with that?
Right, because if you're judging them or being like shaming them, that's just your own relationship with how you are with yourself, right? So, and I just feel like as a culture, we just have to look, not like I'm judging the judger, I just mean it like, just as an awareness. No, really, it doesn't make you uncomfortable, when somebody else is crying or having a bad day, or you're like, no, go away. I don't know how to handle that. I need you to not have that experience right now, and we're just growing up, and I do feel like we have to, I know this is a way bigger conversation, but as you're talking about alignment and moving into these heavier spaces, and right now we're all doing it privately, right? Mm-hmm. And that's okay. We need to create safety around that, because that has to be done in a safe space.
Yeah.
But eventually, I do want to have a conversation around, creating an environment amongst our community, amongst our group, amongst even online,
Yeah, for sure.
Where there's.
I think that's a lot of the work that we do at our retreats and stuff, diving deep into all of this, but just kind of dissecting, like, what does it mean to cultivate more of this? And for me, I know this looks like I'm going to spend some time every day going within and just feeling into how I'm feeling, or thinking about what I'm feeling. And there are definitely days when I'm a little bit too busy, but for the most part, every week, multiple days a week, I'm spending time consciously, intentfully, to just kind of identify what's going on in the internal of me, and what am I noticing? What am I grateful for in the external, right? To cultivate just more of that goodness, because that gratitude is in alignment with my authentic self. And if I'm not in a place of gratitude, then I may start off with venting. I might start off with journaling about, oh my gosh, I really didn't like this experience, and I didn't like this, and I might explore like what came up, what did it remind me of, because sometimes for me it's from the past, and that's okay. I'm reconciling those things, and it always transmutes into this energy of gratitude, of like, everything is working out perfectly. I'm so grateful for these opportunities. I'm so grateful for all this joy, and I will consciously look and feel into them. So there is this element of this spiritual practice, or this obedience, a little bit, not obedience, maybe discipline is a better word, of like, I'm knowing that love is my authentic self already, so I can cultivate that while honoring and respecting the very human experience to integrate with.
Right. And just showing up. I mean, I definitely feel like, alignment takes practice, especially when we have trauma or we are in part of our culture.
Yeah.
In a culture where we are taught to ignore our own rhythm. And if you work in sales or retail or any job, you can't even go to the bathroom when you want to, right? I mean, that's just a flippant thing, but that is demonstration of a way bigger problem.
Yeah.
And then you're shamed for it. I mean, college students can't even leave to go to the bathroom. I mean, I know I just used the bathroom thing, but it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You can't eat when you want. You can't sleep when you want. You can't. We are. So getting back into this alignment with self is going to take practice and just so much grace and so much compassion, because it is a very complex thing, right?
For sure.
And just keep showing up, though, just like you said, at what you seek, you shall find. So, as long as you have this intention to coming back to the self and becoming self-aligned, and you creating or cultivating a practice where you're going within and you're saying, hey, how are you today? And what's going on? And whether that's journaling or constructively, venting, just to get your emotional being back into order, in your thoughts out there, so you can actually look to see, is this actually aligned with my heart?
Right.
But I do feel like there are certain premises to all of this alignment piece. And you said one of the foundational parts for you is love. Mm-hmm. And I would say that that's for me too, is like bringing that everything back to love. But it is kind of going around that medicine wheel, or that whole being wellness thing that you talked about, which is like getting your thoughts in alignment with that, and your feelings, and you're making sure that you are having your actions being aligned with loving of self and loving others. You know what I mean?
Like, no, for sure. But only after you've had all the human experiences, right? Only after you've been mad and you've been hurt and you've acknowledged shame.
You can't obediently just be like, nope, I'm just...
And you've acknowledged that part of you wants to go along with, no, I want to be, I want to have a PhD because that's what our culture values, and I have to have certificates, and like, we need to show up for some of these things.
But then you're like, hey, I'm really not having fun though.
Right.
This isn't fun for me, and it's really bringing me out of balance instead of into balance,
Or even like our value system around money or things or like,
it's such a big conversation.
We do know, but just starting somewhere, just starting where you are right now, and just spending some moments being in alignment, which is just honoring all that is going on inside of you. Taking
right now, in this moment. That's alignment, just showing up.
Absolutely.
If that means you're sad or happy or whatever you're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to look unique and special for each and every one of us, and I think that we kind of opened with that too, of like, just this, there's no, we're not the expert of you. We're not. I'm still getting better every day at being the expert of me. So you do you, I'm going to do me. I'm going to share my ideas and my passions and my love for humanity and being human and all those things, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to be me, and you're here to be you. So just staying open to some really good conversations around what matters to us, what brings us value, what feels like love to us. I know such magical things are going to come from this.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, until next time.
Thank you so much for listening. And like Wendy said, please share with us your thoughts, your feelings, and all the things that matter to you.
All right.